Act 1 of Cain, a Mystery by Lord Byron. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Cain, a Mystery by Lord Byron. Dramatis Personae. Men.
Adam, read by Alan Mapstone.
Cain, read by Peter Tucker.
Abel, read by Beth Thomas.
Spirits.
The Angel of the Lord, read by Libby Stevenson.
Lucifer, read by Mike Gantrell.
Women.
Eve, read by Tricia G.
Ada, read by Mary Kay.
Zilla, read by Amanda Friday.
Narration, read by Abai. Act 1, Scene 1. The Land Without Paradise. Time, sunrise. Adam, Eve, Cain, Abel, Ada, Zillah, offering a sacrifice.
God the Eternal, infinite, all-wise, who out of darkness on the deep didst make light on the waters with a word. All hail. Jehovah, with returning light, all hail.
God, who didst name the day, and separate morning from night, till then divided never, who didst divide the wave from wave, and call part of thy work the firmament, all hail.
God, who didst call the elements into earth, ocean, air, and fire, and with the day and night and worlds which these illuminate, or shadow, madest beings to enjoy them, and love both them and thee. All hail, all hail.
God, the eternal parent of all things, who didst create these best and beauteous beings, to be beloved more than all, save thee, let me love thee and them. All hail, all hail.
O God, who loving, making, blessing all, yet didst permit the serpent to creep in, and drive my father forth from paradise, keep us from further evil. Hail, all hail.
Son Cain, my firstborn, wherefore art thou silent?
Why should I speak?
To pray.
Have ye not prayed?
We have most fervently.
And loudly. I've heard you.
So will God, I trust.
Amen.
But thou, my eldest born, art silent still?
'Tis better I should be so.
Wherefore so?
I've naught to ask.
Nor aught to thank for?
No.
Dost thou not live?
Must I not die?
Alas, the fruit of our forbidden tree begins to fall.
And we must gather it again. O God, why didst thou plant the tree of knowledge?
And wherefore plucked ye not the tree of life? Ye might have then defied him.
O my son, blaspheme not. These are serpent's words.
Why not? The snake spoke truth. It was the tree of knowledge. It was the tree of life. Knowledge is good, and life is good. And how can both be evil?
My boy, thou speakest as I spoke in sin before thy birth. Let me not see renewed my misery in thine. I have repented. Let me not see my offspring fall into the snares beyond the walls of paradise, which even in paradise destroyed his parents. Content thee with what is. Had we been so, thou now hadst been contented, O my son.
Our orisons completed, let us hence, each to his task of toil. Not heavy, though needful. The earth is young, and yields us kindly her fruits with little labour.
Cain, my son, behold thy father cheerful and resigned, and do as he doth.
Exeunt Adam and Eve.
Wilt thou not, my brother?
Why wilt thou wear this gloom upon thy brow, which can avail thee nothing, save to arouse the eternal anger?
My beloved Cain, wilt thou frown even on me?
No, Ada, no. I fain would be alone a little while. Abel, I am sick at heart, but it will pass. Precede me, brother, I will follow shortly. And you too, sisters, tarry not behind. Your gentleness must not be harshly met. I'll follow you anon.
If not, I will return to seek you here.
The peace of God be on your spirit, brother.
Exeunt Abel, Zillah, and Ada. Cain, solus.
And this is life? Toil. And wherefore should I toil? Because my father could not keep his place in Eden? What had I done in this? I was unborn. I sought not to be born, nor love the state to which that birth has brought me. Why did he yield to the serpent and the woman? Or yielding, why suffer? What was there in this? The tree was planted, and why not for him? If not, why place him near it, where it grew the fairest in the centre? They have but one answer to all questions. 'Twas his will, and he is good. How know I that? Because he is all-powerful, must all good too follow? I judge but by the fruits, and they are bitter, which I must feed on for a fault not mine. Whom have we here? A shape like to the angels, yet of a sterner and a sadder aspect of spiritual essence. Why do I quake? Why should I fear him more than other spirits, whom I see daily wave their fiery swords before the gates round which I linger oft, in twilight's hour, to catch a glimpse of those gardens which are my just inheritance, ere the night closes o'er the inhibited walls, and the immortal trees which overtop the cherubim-defended battlements. If I shrink not from these, the fire-armed angels, why should I quail from him who now approaches? Yet he seems mightier far than them, nor less beauteous, and yet not all as beautiful as he hath been, and might be. Sorrow seems half of his immortality. And is it so? And can aught grieve save humanity? He cometh.
Enter Lucifer.
Mortal,
Spirit, who art thou?
master of spirits.
And being so, canst thou leave them and walk with dust?
I know the thoughts of dust, and feel for it, and with you.
How? You know my thoughts?
They are the thoughts of all worthy of thought. 'Tis your immortal part which speaks within you.
What immortal part? This has not been revealed. The tree of life was withheld from us by my father's folly, while that of knowledge by my mother's haste was plucked too soon, and all the fruit is death.
They have deceived thee. Thou shalt live.
I live, but live to die, and living see no thing to make death hateful, save an innate clinging, a loathsome, and yet all-invincible instinct of life, which I abhor, as I despise myself, yet cannot overcome. And so I live. Would I had never lived.
Thou livest, and must live forever. Think not the earth which is thine outward covering is existence. It will cease, and thou wilt be, no less than thou art now.
No less? And why no more?
It may be thou shalt be as we.
And ye?
Are everlasting.
Ye happy?
We are mighty.
Are ye happy?
No. Art thou?
How should I be so? Look on me.
Poor clay. And thou pretendest to be wretched. Thou!
I am. And thou, with all thy might, what art thou?
One who aspired to be what made thee, and would not have made thee what thou art.
Ah, thou look'st almost a god, and...
I am none, and having failed to be one, would be naught save what I am. He conquered, let him reign.
Who?
Thy sire's maker, and the earth's.
And heaven's, and all that in them is, So I have heard his seraphs sing, and so my father saith.
They say what they must sing and say, on pain of being that which I am, and thou art, of spirits and of men.
And what is that?
Souls who dare use their immortality. Souls who dare look the omnipotent tyrant in his everlasting face, and tell him that his evil is not good. If he has made, as he saith, which I know not nor believe, but if he made us, he cannot unmake. We're immortal. Nay, he'd have us so, that he may torture. Let him, he is great, but in his greatness is no happier than we in our conflict. Goodness would not make evil, and what else hath he made? But let him sit on his vast and solitary throne, creating worlds to make eternity less burdensome to his immense existence and unparticipated solitude. Let him crowd orb on orb. He is alone, indefinite, indissoluble tyrant. Could he but crush himself, 'twere the best boon he ever granted. But let him reign on, and multiply himself in misery. Spirits and men at least we sympathize, and, suffering in concert, make our pangs innumerable more endurable, by the unbounded sympathy of all with all. But he, so wretched in his height, so restless in his wretchedness, must still create and recreate. Perhaps he'll make one day a son unto himself, as he gave you a father, and if he so doth, mark me, that son will be a sacrifice.
Thou speak'st to me of things which long have swum in visions through my thought. I never could reconcile what I saw with what I heard. My father and my mother talk to me of serpents and of fruits and trees. I see the gates of what they call their paradise, guarded by fiery-sworded cherubim, which shut them out, and me. I feel the weight of daily toil and constant thought. I look around a world where I seem nothing, with thoughts which arise within me as if they could master all things. But I thought alone this misery was mine. My father is tamed down. My mother has forgot the mind which made her thirst for knowledge at the risk of an eternal curse. My brother is a watching shepherd boy, who offers up the firstlings of the flock to him who bids the earth yield nothing to us without sweat. My sister Zillah sings an earlier hymn than the birds' matins, and my Ada, my own and beloved, she too understands not the mind which overwhelms me. Never till now met I aught to sympathize with me. 'Tis well. I rather would consort with spirits.
And hadst thou not been fit by thine own soul for such companionship, I would not now have stood before thee as I am. A serpent had been enough to charm ye, as before.
Ah, didst thou tempt my mother?
I tempt none, save with the truth. Was not the tree of knowledge, and was not the tree of life still fruitful? Did I bid her pluck them not? Did I plant things prohibited within the reach of beings innocent and curious by their own innocence? I would have made ye gods, and even he who thrust ye forth, so thrust ye because ye should not eat the fruits of life and become gods as we. Were those his words?
They were, as I have heard from those who heard them, in thunder.
Then who was the demon? He who would not let ye live, or he who would have made ye live forever in the joy and power of knowledge?
Would they had snatched both the fruits, or neither?
One is yours already, the other may be still.
How so?
By being yourselves in your resistance. Nothing can quench the mind if the mind will be itself, and center of surrounding things. 'Tis made to sway.
But didst thou tempt my parents?
I? Poor clay! What should I tempt them for, or how?
They say the serpent was a spirit.
Who saith that? It is not written so on high. The proud one will not so far falsify. Though man's vast fears and little vanities would make him cast upon the spiritual nature his own low failing. The snake was the snake, no more, and yet not less than those he tempted, in nature being earth also. More in wisdom, since he could overcome them, and foreknew the knowledge fatal to their narrow joys. Thinkest thou I'd take the shape of things that die?
But the thing had a demon.
He but woke one, in those he spake to with his forky tongue. I tell thee that the serpent was no more than a mere serpent. Ask of the cherubim who guard the tempting tree. When 1,000 ages have rolled o'er your dead ashes, and your seeds, the seed of the then world may thus array their earliest fault in fable, and attribute to me a shape I scorn, as I scorn all that bows to him who made things but to bend before his sullen soul eternity. But we who seek the truth must speak it. Thy fond parents listened to a creeping thing and fell. For what should spirits tempt them? What was there to envy in the narrow bounds of paradise, that spirit who pervades space? But I speak to thee of what thou knowest not with all thy tree of knowledge.
But thou canst not speak aught of knowledge which I would not know, and do not thirst to know, and bear a mind to know.
And heart to look on?
Be it proved.
Darest thou look on death?
He has not yet been seen.
But must be undergone.
My father says he is something dreadful, and my mother weeps when he's named, and Abel lifts his eyes to heaven, and Zillah casts hers to the earth, and sighs a prayer, and Ada looks on me and speaks not.
And thou?
Thoughts unspeakable crowd in my breast to burning when I hear of this almighty death, who is, it seems, inevitable. Could I wrestle with him? I wrestled with the lion when a boy in play, till he ran roaring from my grip.
It has no shape, but will absorb all things that bear the form of earth-born being.
Ah, I thought it was a being. Who could do such evil things to beings, save a being?
Ask the destroyer.
Who?
The maker. Call him which name thou wilt, he makes but to destroy.
I knew not that, yet thought it, since I heard of death, although I know not what it is. Yet it seems horrible. I have looked out in the vast desolate night in search of him, and when I saw gigantic shadows in the umbrage of the walls of Eden, checkered by the far flashing of the cherubs' swords, I watched for what I thought his coming, for with fear rose longing in my heart to know what 'twas which shook us all, but nothing came. And then I turned my weary eyes from off our native and forbidden paradise, up to the lights above us, in the azure, which are so beautiful. Shall they too die?
Perhaps, but long outlive both thine and thee.
I'm glad of that. I would not have them die. They are so lovely. What is death? I feel it is a dreadful thing, but what I cannot compass. It is denounced against us, both them who sinned and sinned not, as an ill. What ill?
To be resolved into the earth.
But shall I know it?
As I know not death, I cannot answer.
Were I quiet earth, that were no evil. Would I ne'er had been aught else but dust.
That is a grovelling wish, less than thy father's, for he wished to know.
But not to live, or wherefore plucked he not the life-tree?
He was hindered.
Deadly error. Not to snatch first that fruit, but ere he plucked the knowledge he was ignorant of death. Alas, I scarcely now know what it is, and yet I fear it, fear I know not what.
And I, who know all things, fear nothing. See what is true knowledge.
Wilt thou teach me all?
I, upon one condition.
Name it.
That thou dost fall down and worship me, thy Lord.
Thou art not the Lord my father worships.
No.
His equal?
No, I have naught in common with him, nor would. I would be aught above, beneath, aught, save a sharer or a servant of his power. I dwell apart, but I am great. Many there are who worship me, and more who shall. Be thou among the first.
I never as yet have bowed unto my father's God. Although my brother Abel oft implores that I would join with him in sacrifice, why should I bow to thee?
Hast thou ne'er bowed to him?
Have I not said it? Need I say it? Could not thy mighty knowledge teach thee that?
He who bows not to him has bowed to me.
But I will bend to neither.
Nevertheless thou art my worshipper. Not worshipping him makes thee mine the same.
And what is that?
Thou'lt know here and hereafter.
Let me but be taught the mystery of my being.
Follow where I will lead thee.
But I must retire to till the earth, for I had promised—
What?
To cull some first fruits.
Why?
To offer up with Abel on an altar.
Saidst thou not that thou never hadst been to him who made thee?
Yes, but Abel's earnest prayer has wrought upon me. The offering is more his than mine. And Ada—
Why dost thou hesitate?
She is my sister, born on the same day, of the same womb. And she wrung from me with tears this promise, and rather than see her weep, I would methinks bear all, and worship aught.
Then follow me.
I will.
Enter Ada.
My brother, I have come for thee. It is our hour of rest and joy, and we have less without thee. Thou hast laboured not this morn, but I have done thy task. The fruits are ripe and glowing as the light which ripens. Come away.
Seest thou not?
I see an angel. We have seen many. Will he share our hour of rest? He is welcome.
But he is not like the angels we have seen.
Are there then others? But he is welcome as they were. They deign to be our guests. Will he?
Cain to Lucifer.
Wilt thou?
I ask thee to be mine.
I must away with him.
And leave us?
I,
And me?
beloved Ada.
Let me go with thee.
No, she must not.
Who art thou that steppest between heart and heart?
He is a god.
How knowest thou?
He speaks like a god.
So did the serpent, and it lied.
Thou errest, Ada. Was not the tree that of knowledge?
Aye, to our eternal sorrow.
And yet that grief is knowledge, so he lied not. And if he did betray you, 'twas the truth, and truth in its own essence cannot be but good.
But all we know of it has gathered evil on will. Expulsion from our home, and dread, and toil, and sweat, and heaviness, remorse of that which was, and hope of that which cometh not. Cain, walk not with the Spirit. Bear with what we have borne, and love me. I love thee.
More than thy mother and thy sire?
I do. Is that a sin too?
No, not yet. It one day will be in your children.
What? Must not my daughter love her brother Enoch?
Not as thou lovest Cain.
Oh my God! Shall they not love and bring forth things that love out of their love? Have they not drawn their milk out of this bosom? Was not he their father, born of the same soul womb, in the same hour with me? Did we not love each other? And in multiplying our being, multiply things which will love each other as we love them? And as I love thee, my Cain, go not forth with the Spirit. He is not of ours.
The sin I speak of is not of my making, and cannot be a sin in you, whate'er it may seem, in those who will replace ye in mortality.
What is the sin which is not sin in itself? Can circumstance make sin or virtue? If it doth, we are the slaves of.
Higher things than ye are slaves, and higher than them, or ye would be so, did they not prefer an independency of torture to the smooth agonies of adulation, in hymns and harpings and self-seeking prayers, to that which is omnipotent because it is omnipotent, and not from love, but terror and self-hope.
Omnipotence must be all goodness.
Was it so in Eden?
Fiend, tempt me not with beauty. Thou art fairer than was the serpent, and as false.
As true. Ask Eve your mother. Bears she not the knowledge of good and evil?
O my mother, thou hast plucked a fruit more fatal to thine offspring than to thyself. Thou at the least hast passed thy youth in paradise, in innocent and happy intercourse with happy spirits. But we, thy children, ignorant of Eden, are girt about by demons, who assume the words of God and tempt us with our own dissatisfied and curious thoughts. As thou wert worked on by the snake in thy most flushed and heedless, harmless wantonness of bliss, I cannot answer this immortal thing which stands before me. I cannot abhor him. I look upon him with a pleasing fear, and yet I fly not from him. In his eye there is a fascinating attraction which fixes my fluttering eyes on his. My heart beats quick. He awes me, and yet draws me near, nearer and nearer. Cain, Cain, save me from him.
What dreads my Ada? This is no ill spirit.
He is not God nor gods. I have beheld the cherubs and seraphs. He looks not like them.
But there are spirits loftier still, the archangels.
And still loftier than the archangels.
Aye, but not blessed.
If the blessedness consists in slavery, no.
I have heard it said, the seraphs love most, cherubs know most. This should be a cherub, since he loves not.
And if the higher knowledge quenches love, what must he be you cannot love when known? Since the all-knowing cherubim love least, the seraph's love can be but ignorance. That they are not compatible, the doom of thy fond parents for their daring proves. Choose betwixt love and knowledge, since there is no other choice. Your sire hath chosen already. His worship is but fear.
O Cain, choose love.
For thee, my Ada, I choose not. It was born with me. But I love naught else.
Our parents.
Did they love us when they snatched from the tree that which hath driven us all from paradise?
We were not born then, and if we had been, should we not love them? And our children, Cain?
My little Enoch, and his lisping sister. Could I but deem them happy, I would half forget. But it can never be forgotten through thrice 1,000 generations. Never shall men love the remembrance of the man who sowed the seed of evil in mankind in the same hour. They plucked the tree of science and sin, and not content with their own sorrow, begot me, thee, and all the few that are, and all the unnumbered and innumerable multitudes, millions, myriads, which may be, to inherit agonies accumulated by ages. And I must be the sire of such things. Thy beauty and thy love, my love and joy, the rapturous moment and the placid hour, all we love in our children and each other, but lead them and ourselves through many years of sin and pain, or few, but still of sorrow, interchecked with an instant of brief pleasure, to death, the unknown. Methinks the tree of knowledge hath not fulfilled its promise. If they sinned, at least they ought to have known all things that are of knowledge, and the mystery of death. What do they know? That they are miserable. What need of snakes and fruits to teach us that?
I am not wretched, Cain, and if thou wert happy.
Be thou happy then, alone. I will have naught to do with happiness, which humbles me and mine.
Alone I could not nor would be happy, but with those around us I think I could be so, despite of death, which, as I know it not, I dread not, though it seems an awful shadow, if I may judge from what I have heard.
And thou couldst not, alone, thou sayest, be happy?
Alone, oh my God! Who could be happy and alone or good? To me my solitude seems sin, unless when I think of how soon I shall see my brother, his brother, and our children, and our parents.
Yet thy God is alone. Is he happy? Lonely and good?
He is not so. He hath the angels and the mortals to make happy, and thus becomes so in diffusing joy. What else can joy be but the spreading joy?
Ask of your sire, the exile fresh from Eden, or of his firstborn son. Ask your own heart, it is not tranquil.
Alas, no. And you, are you of heaven?
If I am not, enquire the cause of this all-spreading happiness, which you proclaim, of the all-great and good maker of life and living things. It is his secret, and he keeps it. We must bear, and some of us resist, and both in vain, his seraphs say. But it is worth the trial, since better may not be without. There is a wisdom in the spirit which directs to right, as in the dim blue air the eye of you young mortals lights at once upon a star which watches, welcoming the morn.
It is a beautiful star. I love it for its beauty.
And why not adore?
Our Father adores the invisible only.
But the symbols of the invisible are the loveliest of what is visible, and yon bright star is a leader of the host of heaven.
Our Father saith he hath beheld the God himself, who made him and our mother.
Hast thou seen him?
Yes, in his works.
But in his being?
No, save in my Father, who is God's own image, or in his angels, who are like to thee, and brighter, yet less beautiful and powerful in seeming, as the silent sunny noon. All light, they look upon us, but thou seemest like the ethereal night, where long white clouds streak the dark purple, and unnumbered stars spangle the wonderful mysterious vault with things that look as if they would be suns, so beautiful, unnumbered, and endearing, not dazzling, and yet drawing us to them. They fill my eyes with tears, and so dost thou. Thou seem'st unhappy. Do not make us so. I will weep for thee.
Alas, those tears! Couldst thou but know what oceans will be shed.
By me?
By all.
What all?
The million millions, the myriad myriads, the all-peopled earth, the unpeopled earth, and the o'er-peopled hell, of which thy bosom is the germ.
O Cain, the spirit curseth us.
Let him say on. Him will I follow.
Whither?
To a place whence he shall come back to thee in an hour. But in that hour see things of many days.
How can that be?
Did not your Maker make out of old worlds this new one in few days? And cannot I, who aided in this work, show in an hour what he hath made in many, or hath destroyed in few?
Lead on.
Will he in sooth return within an hour?
He shall. With us, acts are exempt from time, and we can crowd eternity into an hour, or stretch an hour into eternity. We breathe not by mortal measurement, but that's a mystery. Cain, come on with me.
Will he return?
Aye, woman, he alone of mortals from that place, the first and last who shall return, save one, shall come back to thee, to make that silent and expectant world as populous as this. At present there are few inhabitants.
Where dwellest thou?
Throughout all space. Where should I dwell? Where are thy god or gods? There am I. All things are divided with me, life and death, and time, eternity, and heaven and earth, and that which is not heaven nor earth, but peopled with those who once peopled or shall people both. These are my realms, so that I do divide his, and possess a kingdom which is not his. If I were not that which I have said, could I stand here? His angels are within your vision.
So they were when the fair serpent spoke with our mother first.
Cain, thou hast heard. If thou dost long for knowledge, I can satiate that thirst, nor ask thee to partake of fruits which shall deprive thee of a single good the conqueror has left thee. Follow me.
Spirit, I have said it.
Exeunt Lucifer and Cain. Ada follows exclaiming,
Cain, my brother, Cain.
End of Act 1. Act 2 of Cain, a Mystery by Lord Byron. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Act 2, Scene 1. The Abyss of Space.
I tread on air and sink not, yet I fear to sink.
Have faith in me, and thou shalt be borne on the air, of which I am the prince.
Can I do so without impiety?
Believe and sink not, doubt and perish. Thus would run the edict of the other god, who names me demon to his angels. They echo the sound to miserable things, which knowing not beyond their shallow senses, worship the word which strikes their ear, and deem evil or good what is proclaimed to them in their abasement. I will have none such. Worship or worship not, thou shalt behold the worlds beyond thy little world. Nor be immersed for doubts beyond thy little life with torture of my dooming. There will come an hour when, tossed upon some water drops, a man shall say to a man, Believe in me and walk the waters, and the man shall walk the billows and be safe. I will not say, Believe in me, as a conditional creed to save thee, but fly with me o'er the gulf of space in equal flight, and I will show what thou darest not deny, the history of past and present and of future worlds.
O God, or demon, or whate'er thou art, is yon our earth?
Dost thou not recognize the dust which formed your father?
Can it be? Yon small blue circle swinging in far ether, with an inferior circlet purpler it still, which looks like that which lit our earthly night. Is this our paradise? Where are its walls, and they who guard them?
Point me out the site of paradise.
How should I? As we move like sunbeams onward, it grows small and smaller, and as it waxes little and then less, gathers a halo round it, like the light which shone the roundest of the stars when I beheld them from the skirts of paradise. Methinks they both, as we recede from them, appear to join the innumerable stars which are around us, and as we move on increase their myriads.
And if there should be worlds greater than thine own, inhabited by greater things, and they themselves far more in number than the dust of thy dull earth, though multiplied to animated atoms, all living, and all doomed to death, and wretched, what wouldst thou think?
I should be proud of thought which knew such things.
But if that high thought were linked to a servile mass of matter, and knowing such things, aspiring to such things, and science still beyond them, were chained down to the most gross and petty, paltry wants, all foul and fulsome, and the very best of thine enjoyments a sweet degradation, a most enervating and filthy cheat, to lure thee on to the renewal of fresh souls and bodies, all foredoomed to be as frail, and few so happy.
Spirit, I know naught of death, save as a dreadful thing of which I have heard my parents speak, as of a hideous heritage I owe to them no less than life, a heritage not happy, if I may judge, till now. But, Spirit, if it be as thou hast said, and I within feel the prophetic torture of its truth, here let me die, for to give birth to those who can but suffer many years and die, methinks is merely propagating death and multiplying murder.
Thou canst not. All die. There is what must survive.
The other spake not of this unto my father, when he shut him forth from paradise, with death written upon his forehead. But at least let what is mortal of me perish, that I may be in the rest as angels are.
I am angelic. Wouldst thou be as I am?
I know not what thou art. I see thy power, and see thou showest me things beyond my power, beyond all power of my born faculties, although inferior still to my desires and my conceptions.
What are they which dwell so humbly in their pride, as to sojourn with worms in clay?
And what art thou who dwellest so haughtily in spirit, and canst range nature and immortality, and yet seemst sorrowful?
I seem that which I am, and therefore do I ask of thee, if thou wouldst be immortal.
Thou hast said, I must be immortal in despite of me. I knew not this until lately. But since it must be, let me, or happy or unhappy, learn to anticipate my immortality.
Thou didst, before I came upon thee.
How?
By suffering.
And must torture be immortal?
We and thy sons will try. But now, behold, is it not glorious?
O thou beautiful and unimaginable ether, and ye multiplying masses of increased and still increasing lights, what are ye? What is this blue wilderness of interminable air, where ye roll along, as I have seen the leaves along the limpid streams of Eden? Is your course measured for ye, or do ye sweep on in your unbounded revelry through an aerial universe of endless expansion, at which my soul aches to think, intoxicated with eternity? O God, O gods, or whatsoe'er ye are, how beautiful ye are! How beautiful your works, or accidents, or whatsoe'er they may be! Let me die as atoms die, if that they die, or know ye in your might and knowledge. My thoughts are not in this hour unworthy what I see, though my dust is. Spirit, let me expire, or see them nearer.
Art thou not nearer? Look back to thine earth.
Where is it? I see nothing save a mass of most innumerable lights.
Look there.
I cannot see it.
Yet it sparkles still.
That, yonder.
Yea.
And wilt thou tell me so? Why, I have seen the fireflies and fireworms sprinkle the dusky groves and the green banks in the dim twilight, brighter than yon world which bears them.
Thou hast seen both worms and worlds, each bright and sparkling. What dost think of them?
That they are beautiful in their own sphere, and that the night which makes both beautiful, the little shining firefly in its flight and the immortal star in its great course, must both be guided.
But by whom or what?
Show me.
Darest thou behold?
How know I what I dare behold? As yet thou hast shown naught I dare not gaze on further.
On then with me. Wouldst thou behold things mortal or immortal?
Why, what are things?
Both, partly. But what doth sit next thy heart?
The things I see.
But what sate nearest it?
The things I have not seen, nor ever shall. The mysteries of death.
What, if I show to thee things which have died, as I have shown thee much which cannot die?
Do so.
Away then, on our mighty wings.
Oh, how we cleave the blue! The stars fade from us. The earth, where is my earth? Let me look on it, for I was made of it.
'Tis now beyond thee, less in the universe than thou in it. Yet deem not that thou canst escape it. Thou shalt soon return to earth and all its dust. 'Tis part of thy eternity and mine.
Where dost thou lead me?
To what was before thee, the phantasm of the world, of which thy world is but the wreck.
What, is it not then new?
No more than life is, and that was, ere thou or I were, or the things which seem to us greater than either. But many things will have no end, and some, which would pretend to have had no beginning, have had one as mean as thou. And mightier things have been extinct, to make way for much meaner than we can surmise. For moments only, and the space have been and must be all unchangeable. But changes make not death, except to clay. But thou art clay, and canst but comprehend that which was clay, and such thou shalt behold.
Clay, spirit, what thou wilt, I can survey.
Away then!
But the lights fade from me fast, and some till now grew larger as we approached, and wore the look of worlds.
And such they are.
And Edens in them?
It may be.
And men?
Yea, or things higher.
Aye, and serpents too?
Wouldst thou have men without them? Must no reptiles breathe save the erect ones?
How the lights recede! Where fly we?
To the world of phantoms, which are beings past, and shadows still to come.
But it grows dark and dark. The stars are gone.
And yet thou seest.
'Tis a fearful light. No sun, no moon, no lights innumerable. The very blue of the empurpled night fades to a dreary twilight. Yet I see huge dusky masses. But unlike the worlds we were approaching, which begirt with light seemed full of life, even when their atmosphere of light gave way, and showed them taking shapes unequal, of deep valleys and vast mountains, and some emitting sparks, and some displaying enormous liquid plains, and some begirt with luminous belts and floating moons, which took, like them, the features of fair earth. Instead, all here seems dark and dreadful.
But distinct. Thou seekest to behold death and dead things.
I seek it not. But as I know there are such, and that my sire's sin makes him and me, and all that we inherit, liable to such, I would behold at once what I must one day see perforce.
Behold.
'Tis darkness.
And so it shall be ever, but we will unfold its gates.
Enormous vapours roll apart. What's this?
Enter.
Can I return?
Return. Be sure, how else could death be peopled? Its present realm is thin to what it will be through thee and thine.
The clouds still open wide and wider, and make widening circles round us.
Advance.
And thou?
Fear not. Without me thou couldst not have gone beyond thy world. On, on.
They disappear through the clouds. Scene 2. Hades. Enter Lucifer and Cain.
How silent and how vast are these dim worlds! For they seem more than one, and yet more peopled than the huge, brilliant, luminous orbs which swung so thickly in the upper air, that I had deemed them rather the bright populace of some all unimaginable heaven, than things to be inhabited themselves, but that on drawing near them I beheld their swelling into palpable immensity of matter, which seemed made for life to dwell on, rather than life itself. But here all is so shadowy and so full of twilight that it speaks of a day past.
It is the realm of death. Wouldst have it present?
Till I know that which it really is, I cannot answer. But if it be as I've heard my father deal out in his long homilies, 'tis a thing, O God, I dare not think on't. Cursed be he who invented life that leads to death, or the dull mass of life that, being life, could not retain but needs must forfeit it, even for the innocent.
Dost thou curse thy father?
Cursed he not me in giving me my birth? Cursed he not me before my birth in daring to pluck the fruit forbidden?
Thou sayest well. The curse is mutual twixt thy sire and thee. But for thy sons and brother?
Let them share it with me, their sire and brother. What else is bequeathed to me? I leave them my inheritance. O ye interminable gloomy realms of swimming shadows and enormous shapes, some fully shown, some indistinct, and all mighty and melancholy, what are ye? Live ye, or have ye lived?
Somewhat of both.
Then what is death?
What? Hath not he who made ye said, 'tis another life?
Till now he hath said nothing, save that all shall die.
Perhaps he one day will unfold that further secret.
Happy the day!
Yes, happy, when unfolded, through agonies unspeakable and clogged with agonies eternal, to innumerable yet unborn myriads of unconscious atoms, all to be animated for this only.
What are these mighty phantoms which I see floating around me? They wear not the form of the intelligences I have seen round our regretted and unentered Eden, nor wear the form of man as I have viewed it in Adam's and in Abel's and in mine, nor in my sister bride's, nor in my children's. And yet they have an aspect which, though not of men nor angels, looks like something which, if not the last, rose higher than the first, haughty and high and beautiful, and full of seeming strength, but of inexplicable shape, for I never saw such. They bear not the wing of seraph, nor the face of man, nor form of mightiest brute, nor aught that is now breathing, mighty yet and beautiful as the most beautiful and mighty which live, and yet so unlike them that I scarce can call them living.
Yet they lived.
Where?
Where thou livest.
When?
On what thou callest earth they did inhabit.
Adam is the first.
Of thine, I grant thee, but too mean to be the last of these.
And what are they?
That which thou shalt be.
But what were they?
Living, high, intelligent, good, great, and glorious things, as much superior unto all thy sire Adam could e'er have been in Eden, as the 60,000th generation shall be, in its dull, damp degeneracy, to thee and thy son. And how weak they are, judge by thy own flesh.
Ah, me! And did they perish?
Yes, from their earth, as thou wilt fade from thine.
But was mine theirs?
It was.
But not as now. It is too little and too lowly to sustain such creatures.
True, it was more glorious.
And wherefore did it fall?
Ask him who fells.
But how?
By a most crushing and inexorable destruction and disorder of the elements, which struck a world to chaos, as a chaos subsiding has struck out a world. Such things, though rare in time, are frequent in eternity. Pass on and gaze upon the past.
'Tis awful.
And true. Behold these phantoms. They were once material as thou art.
And must I be like them?
Let he who made thee answer that. I show thee what thy predecessors are, and what they were thou feelest, in degree inferior as thy petty feelings and thy pettier portion of the immortal part of high intelligence and earthly strength. What ye in common have with what they had is life, and what ye shall have, death. The rest of your poor attributes is such as suits reptiles engendered out of the subsiding slime of a mighty universe, crushed into a scarcely yet shaped planet, peopled with things whose enjoyment was to be in blindness, a paradise of ignorance from which knowledge was barred as poison. But behold what these superior beings are or were, or if it irk thee, turn thee back and till the earth thy task. I'll waft thee there in safety.
No, I'll stay here.
How long?
Forever. Since I must one day return here from the earth, I rather would remain. I am sick of all that dust has shown me. Let me dwell in shadows.
It cannot be. Thou now beholdest as a vision that which is reality. To make thyself fit for this dwelling, thou must pass through what the things thou seest have passed, the gates of death.
By what gate have we entered even now?
By mine, but plighted to return. My spirit buoys thee up to breathe in regions where all is breathless save thyself. Gaze on, but do not think to dwell here till thine hour is come.
And these too, can they ne'er repass to earth again?
Their earth is gone forever. So changed by its convulsion they would not be conscious to a single present spot of its new, scarcely hardened surface. 'Twas, oh, what a beautiful world it was!
And is. It is not with the earth, though I must till it, I feel at war, but that I may not profit by what it bears of beautiful, untoiling, nor gratify my thousand swelling thoughts with knowledge, nor allay my thousand fears of death and life.
What thy world is thou seest, but canst not comprehend the shadow of that which it was.
And those enormous creatures, phantoms inferior in intelligence, at least so seeming, to the things we have passed, resembling somewhat the wild habitants of the deep woods of earth, the hugest which roar nightly in the forest, but tenfold in magnitude and terror, taller than the cherub-guarded walls of Eden, with eyes flashing like the fiery swords which fence them, and tusks projecting like the trees stripped of their bark and branches. What were they?
That which the mammoth is in thy world. But these lie by myriads underneath its surface.
But none on it?
No, for thy frail race to war with them would render the curse on it useless. 'Twould be destroyed so early.
But why war?
You have forgotten the denunciation which drove your race from Eden. War with all things, and death to all things, and disease to most things, and pangs and bitterness. These were the fruits of the forbidden tree.
But animals, did they too eat of it, that they must die?
Your Maker told ye, they were made for you, as you for him. You would not have their doom superior to your own. Had not Adam fallen, all had stood.
Alas, the hopeless wretches! They too must share my sire's fate, like his sons, like them too, without having shared the apple, like them too, without the so dear-bought knowledge. It was a lying tree, for we know nothing. At least it promised knowledge at the price of death, but knowledge still. But what knows man?
It may be death leads to the highest knowledge, and being of all things the sole thing certain, at least leads to the surest science. Therefore the tree was true, though deadly.
These dim realms, I see them, but I know them not.
Because thy hour is yet afar, and matter cannot comprehend spirit wholly. But 'tis something to know there are such realms.
We knew already that there was death.
But not what was beyond it.
Nor know I now.
Thou knowest that there is a state, and many states beyond thine own, and this thou knewest not this morn.
But all seems dim and shadowy.
Be content, it will seem clearer to thine immortality.
And yon immeasurable liquid space of glorious azure which floats on beyond us, which looks like water, and which I would deem the river which flows out of paradise past my own dwelling, but that it is bankless and boundless, and of an ethereal hue. What is it?
There is still some such on earth, although inferior, and thy children shall dwell near it. 'Tis the phantasm of an ocean.
'Tis like another world, a liquid sun, and those inordinate creatures sporting o'er its shining surface
Are its inhabitants, the past leviathans.
And yon immense serpent, which rears his dripping mane and vasty head 10 times higher than the haughtiest cedar, forth from the abyss, looking as he could coil himself around the orbs we lately looked on. Is he not of the kind which basked beneath the tree in Eden?
Eve, thy mother, best can tell what shape of serpent tempted her.
This seems too terrible. No doubt the other had more of beauty.
Hast thou ne'er beheld him?
Many of the same kind, at least so called, but never that precisely which persuaded the fatal fruit, nor even of the same aspect.
Your father saw him not?
No, 'twas my mother who tempted him. She tempted by the serpent.
Good man, whene'er thy wife, or thy sons' wives, tempt thee or them to aught that's new or strange, be sure thou seest first who hath tempted them.
Thy precept comes too late. There is no more for serpents to tempt woman to.
But there are still some things which woman may tempt man to, and man tempt woman. Let thy sons look to it. My counsel is a kind one, for 'tis even given chiefly at my own expense, 'tis true. 'Twill not be followed, so there's little lost.
I understand not this.
The happier thou. Thy world and thou are still too young. Thou thinkest thyself most wicked and unhappy, is it not so?
For crime I know not, but for pain I have felt much.
Firstborn of the first man, thy present state of sin, and thou art evil of sorrow, and thou sufferest, are both Eden in all its innocence compared to what thou shortly mayest be, and that state again in its redoubled wretchedness, a paradise to what thy sons' sons, accumulating in generation like to dust, which they in fact but add to, shall endure and do. Now let us back to earth.
And wherefore didst thou lead me here only to inform me this?
Was not thy quest for knowledge?
Yes, as being the road to happiness.
If truth be so, thou hast it.
Then my father's God did well when he prohibited the fatal tree.
But had done better in not planting it. But ignorance of evil doth not save from evil. It must still roll on the same, a part of all things.
Not of all things. No, I'll not believe it, for I thirst for good.
And who and what doth not? Who covets evil for its own bitter sake? None, nothing. 'Tis the leaven of all life and lifelessness.
Within those glorious orbs which we behold, distant and dazzling and innumerable, ere we came down into this phantom realm, ill cannot come. They are too beautiful.
Thou hast seen them from afar.
And what of that? Distance can but diminish glory. They, when nearer, must be more ineffable.
Approach the things of earth most beautiful, and judge their beauty near.
I have done this. The loveliest thing I know is loveliest nearest.
Then there must be delusion. What is that, which being nearest to thine eyes is still more beautiful than beauteous things remote?
My sister Ada, all the stars of heaven, the deep blue noon of night, lit by an orb which looks a spirit or a spirit's world, the hues of twilight, the sun's gorgeous coming, his setting indescribable, which fills my eyes with pleasant tears as I behold him sink, and feel my heart float softly with him along that western paradise of clouds. The forest shade, the green bough, the bird's voice, the vesper birds, which seems to sing of love and mingles with the song of cherubim as the day closes over Eden's walls. All these are nothing to my eyes and heart, like Ada's face. I turn from earth and heaven to gaze on it.
'Tis fair as frail mortality, in the first dawn and bloom of young creation, and earliest embraces of earth's parents can make its offspring. Still it is delusion.
You think so, being not her brother.
Mortal, my brotherhood's with those who have no children.
Then thou canst have no fellowship with us.
It may be that thine own shall be for me. But if thou dost possess a beautiful being, beyond all beauty in thine eyes, why art thou wretched?
Why do I exist? Why art thou wretched? Why are all things so? Even he who made us must be, as the maker of things, unhappy. To produce destruction can surely never be the task of joy, and yet my sire says he's omnipotent. Then why is evil, he being good? I asked this question of my father, and he said, because this evil only was the path to good. Strange good that must arise from out its deadly opposite. I lately saw a lamb stung by a reptile. The poor suckling lay foaming on the earth, beneath the vain and piteous bleating of its restless dam. My father plucked some herbs and laid them to the wound, and by degrees the helpless wretch resumed its careless life, and rose to drain the mother's milk, who o'er it tremulous stood, licking its reviving limbs with joy. Behold, my son, said Adam, how from evil springs good.
What didst thou answer?
Nothing, for he is my father, but I thought that 'twere a better portion for the animal never to have been stung at all, than to purchase renewal of its little life with agonies unutterable, though dispelled by antidotes.
But as thou saidst, of all beloved things thou lovest her who shared thy mother's milk, and giveth hers unto thy children.
Most assuredly. What should I be without her?
What am I?
Dost thou love nothing?
What does thy God love?
All things, my father says, but I confess I see it not in their allotment here.
And therefore thou canst not see if I love or know, except some vast and general purpose, to which particular things must melt like snows.
Snows? What are they?
Be happier in not knowing what thy remoter offspring must encounter, but bask beneath the clime which knows no winter.
But dost thou not love something like thyself?
And dost thou love thyself?
Yes, but love more what makes my feelings more endurable, and is more than myself, because I love it.
Thou lovest it because 'tis beautiful, as was the apple in thy mother's eye. And when it ceases to be so, thy love will cease like any other appetite.
Cease to be beautiful? How can that be?
With time.
But time has passed, and hitherto even Adam and my mother both are fair. Not fair like Ada and the seraphim, but very fair.
All that must pass away in them and her.
I am sorry for it, but cannot conceive my love for her the less. When her beauty disappears, methinks he who creates all beauty will lose more than me in seeing perish such a work.
I pity thee who lovest what must perish.
And I thee who lovest nothing.
And thy brother, sits he not near thy heart?
Why should he not?
Thy father loves him well, so does thy God.
And so do I.
'Tis well and meekly done.
Meekly?
He is the second born of flesh, and is his mother's favourite.
Let him keep her favour, since the serpent was the first to win it.
And his father's?
What is that to me? Should I not love that which all love?
And the Jehovah, the indulgent Lord, and bounteous planter of barred paradise, he too looks smilingly on Abel.
I ne'er saw him, and I know not if he smiles.
But you have seen his angels?
Rarely.
But sufficiently to see they love your brother. His sacrifices are acceptable.
So be they. Wherefore speak to me of this?
Because thou hast thought of this ere now.
And if I have thought, why recall a thought that—
He pauses as agitated.
Spirit, here we are in thy world. Speak not of mine. Thou hast shown me wonders. Thou hast shown me those mighty pre-Adamites who walked the earth, of which ours is the wreck. Thou hast pointed out myriads of starry worlds, of which our own is the dim and remote companion in infinity of life. Thou hast shown me shadows of that existence with the dreaded name which my sire brought us, death. Thou hast shown me much, but not all. Show me where Jehovah dwells in his especial paradise, or thine. Where is it?
Here and o'er all space.
But ye have some allotted dwelling, as all things. Clay has its earth, and other worlds their tenants, all temporary breathing creatures their peculiar element, and things which have long ceased to breathe our breath have theirs, thou sayest, and the Jehovah and thyself have thine. Ye do not dwell together?
No, we reign together, but our dwellings are asunder.
Would there were only one of ye! Perchance an unity of purpose might make union in elements which now seem jarred in storms. How came ye, being spirits wise and infinite, to separate? Are ye not as brethren in your essence, and your nature, and your glory?
Art thou not Abel's brother?
We are brethren, and so we shall remain. But were it not so, is spirit like to flesh? Can it fall out, infinity with immortality? Jarring and turning space to misery, for what?
To reign.
Did ye not tell me that ye are both eternal?
Yea.
And what I have seen, yon blue immensity, is boundless?
Aye.
And cannot ye both reign, then? Is there not enough? Why should ye differ?
We both reign.
But one of you makes evil.
Which?
Thou. For if thou canst do man good, why dost thou not?
And why not he who made? I made ye not. Ye are his creatures, not mine.
Then leave us his creatures, as thou sayest we are, or show me thy dwelling, or his dwelling.
I could show thee both, but the time will come, thou shalt see one of them for evermore.
And why not now?
Thy human mind hath scarcely grasped to gather the little I have shown thee into calm and clear thought. And thou wouldst go on aspiring to the great double mysteries, the two principles, and gaze upon them on their secret thrones? Dust! Limit thy ambition, for to see either one of these would be for thee to perish.
And let me perish, so I see them.
There, the son of her who snatched the apple spake. But thou wouldst only perish and not see them. The sight is for the other state.
Of death?
That is the prelude.
Then I dread it less, now that I know it leads to something definite.
And now I will convey thee to thy world, where thou shalt multiply the race of Adam, eat, drink, toil, tremble, laugh, weep, sleep, and die.
And to what end have I beheld these things which thou hast shown me?
Didst thou not require knowledge? And have I not, in what I showed, taught thee to know thyself?
Alas, I seem nothing.
And this should be the human sum of knowledge, to know mortal nature's nothingness. Bequeath that science to thy children, and 'twill spare them many tortures.
Haughty spirit! Thou speak'st it proudly, but thyself, though proud, hast a superior.
No! By heaven which he holds, and the abyss, and the immensity of worlds, and life which I hold with him, no! I have a victor, true, but no superior. Homage he has from all, but none from me. I battle it against him as I battled in highest heaven, through all eternity, and the unfathomable gulfs of Hades, and the interminable realms of space, and the infinity of endless ages, all will I dispute. And world by world, and star by star, and universe by universe, shall tremble in the balance, till the great conflict shall cease, if ever it shall cease, which ne'er it shall, till he or I be quenched. And what can quench our immortality, or mutual and irrevocable hate? He, as a conqueror, will call the conquered evil, but what will be the good he gives? Were I the victor, his works would be deemed the only evil ones. And you, ye new and scarce born mortals, what have been his gifts to you already in your little world?
But few, and some of those but bitter.
Back with me, then, to thine earth, and try the rest of his celestial boons to you and yours. Evil and good are things in their own essence, and not made good or evil by the giver. But if he gives you good, so call him. If evil springs from him, do not name it mine. till ye know better its true fount. And judge not by words, though of spirits, but the fruits of your existence, such as it must be. One good gift has the fatal apple given, your reason. Let it not be overswayed by tyrannous threats to force you into faith, 'gainst all external sense and inward feeling. Think and endure, and form an inner world in your own bosom where the outward fails. So shall you nearer be the spiritual nature, and war triumphant with your own.
Act 3 of Cain, a Mystery, by Lord Byron. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Act 3, Scene 1. The earth near Eden, as in Act 1. Enter Cain and Ada.
Hush! Tread softly, Cain.
I will, but wherefore?
Our little Enoch sleeps upon yon bed of leaves, beneath the cypress.
Cypress? 'Tis a gloomy tree, which looks as if it mourned o'er what it shadows. Wherefore didst thou choose it for our child's canopy?
Because its branches shut out the sun like night, and therefore seemed fitting to shadow slumber.
Ay, the last, and longest, but no matter, lead me to him.
They go up to the child.
How lovely he appears, his little cheeks in their pure incarnation vying with the rose-leaves strewn beneath them.
His lips, too, how beautifully parted. No, you shall not kiss him, at least not now. He will awake soon. His hour of midday rest is nearly over, but it were a pity to disturb him till 'tis closed.
You have said well. I will contain my heart till then. He smiles and sleeps. Sleep on and smile, thou little young inheritor of a world scarce less young. Sleep on and smile. Thine are the hours and days when both are cheering and innocent. Thou hast not plucked the fruit, thou know'st not thou art naked. Must the time come thou shalt be immersed for sins unknown, which were not thine nor mine? But now sleep on. His cheeks are reddening into deeper smiles, and shining lids are trembling o'er his long lashes, dark as the cypress which waves o'er them. Half open, from beneath them the clear blue laughs out, although in slumber. He must dream of what? Paradise? Ay, dream of it, my disinherited boy. 'Tis but a dream, for never more thyself, thy sons, nor fathers shall walk in that forbidden place of joy.
Dear Cain, nay, do not whisper o'er our son such melancholy yearnings o'er the past. Why wilt thou always mourn for paradise? Can we not make another?
Where?
Here, or where'er thou wilt. Where'er thou art, I feel not the want of this so much regretted Eden. Have I not thee, our boy, our sire, and brother, and Zillah, our sweet sister, and our Eve, to whom we owe so much besides her birth?
Yes, death, too, is among the debts we owe her.
Cain, that proud spirit who withdrew thee hence, hath saddened thine still deeper. I had hoped the promised wonders which thou hast beheld, visions, thou sayest, of past and present worlds, would have composed thy mind into a calm of a contented knowledge. But I see thy guide hath done thee evil. Still I thank him, and can forgive him all, that he so soon hath given thee back to us.
So soon?
'Tis scarcely 2 hours since ye departed. 2 long hours to me, but only hours upon the sun.
And yet I have approached that sun, and seen worlds which he once shone on, and never more shall light, and worlds he never lit. Methought years had rolled o'er my absence.
Hardly hours.
The mind then hath capacity of time, and measures it by that which it beholds, pleasing or painful, little or mighty. I had beheld the immemorial works of endless beings, skirred extinguished worlds, and gazing on eternity, methought I had borrowed more by a few drops of ages from its immensity. But now I feel my littleness again. Well said the Spirit that I was nothing.
Wherefore said he so? Jehovah said not that.
No, he contents him with making us the nothing which we are, and after flattering dust with glimpses of Eden and immortality, resolves it back to dust again. For what?
Thou knowest, even for our parents' error.
What is that to us? They sinned, then let them die.
Thou hast not spoken well, nor is that thought thy own, but of the Spirit who was with thee. Would I could die for them, so they might live.
Why, so say I, provided that one victim might satiate the insatiable of life, and that our little rosy sleeper there might never taste of death nor human sorrow, nor hand it down to those who spring from him.
How know we that some such atonement one day may not redeem our race?
By sacrificing the harmless for the guilty. What atonement were there? Why, we are innocent. What have we done, that we must be victims for a deed before our birth, or need have victims to atone for this mysterious, nameless sin, if it be such a sin to seek for knowledge?
Alas, thou sinnest now, my Cain. Thy words sound impious in mine ears.
Then leave me.
Never, though thy God left thee.
Say, what have we here?
2 altars, which our brother Abel made during thine absence, whereupon to offer a sacrifice to God on thy return.
And how knew he that I would be so ready with the burnt offerings which he daily brings with a meek brow, whose base humility shows more of fear than worship, as a bribe to the Creator?
Surely, 'tis well done.
1 altar may suffice. I have no offering.
The fruits of the earth, the early beautiful blossom and bud, the bloom of flowers and fruits, these are a goodly offering to the Lord, given with a gentle and contrite spirit.
I have toiled and tilled and sweaten in the sun according to the curse. Must I do more? For what should I be gentle? For a war with all the elements ere they will yield the bread we eat? For what must I be grateful? For being dust and grovelling in the dust till I return to dust? If I am nothing, for nothing shall I be an hypocrite, and seem well pleased with pain. For what should I be contrite? For my father's sin, already expatiate with what we have all undergone, and to be more than expatiated by the ages prophesied upon our seed. Little deems our young blooming sleeper there, the germs of an eternal misery to myriads is within him. Better 'twere I snatched him in his sleep, and dashed him 'gainst the rocks, than let him live to—
Oh, my God! Touch not the child, my child, thy child! O Cain!
Fear not, for all the stars, and all the power which sways them, I would not accost yon infant with ruder greeting than a father's kiss.
Then why so awful in thy speech?
I said, 'twere better that he ceased to live, than give life to so much of sorrow as he must endure, and harder still bequeath. But since that saying jars you, let us only say, 'twere better that he never had been born.
Oh, do not say so. Where were then the joys, the mother's joys of watching, nourishing, and loving him? Soft, he awakes. Sweet Enoch.
She goes to the child.
O Cain, Look on him. See how full of life, of strength, of bloom, of beauty, and of joy. How like to me, how like to thee when gentle. For then we are all alike. It's not so, Cain. Mother and sire and son, our features are reflected in each other as they are in the clear waters. When they are gentle, when thou art gentle, love us, then, my Cain. Love thyself for our sakes, for we love thee. Look, how he laughs and stretches out his arms, and opens wide his blue eyes upon thine, to hail his father, which his little form flutters as winged with joy. Talk not of pain. The childless cherubs might well envy thee the pleasures of a parent. Bless him, Cain. As yet he hath no words to thank thee, but his heart will, and thine own too.
Bless thee, boy, if that a mortal blessing may avail thee to save thee from the serpent's curse.
It shall. Surely a father's blessing may avert a reptile's subtlety.
Of that I doubt, but bless him nevertheless.
Our brother comes.
Thy brother Abel.
Enter Abel.
Welcome, Cain, my brother. The peace of God be on thee.
Abel, hail.
Our sister tells me that thou hadst been wandering in high communion with a spirit far beyond our wonted range. Was he of those we have seen and spoken with, like to our father?
No.
Why then commune with him? He may be a foe to the Most High.
And friend to man. Has the Most High been so, if so you term him?
Term him? Your words are strange today, my brother. My sister Ada, leave us for a while. We mean to sacrifice.
Farewell, my Cain. But first, embrace thy son. May his soft spirit and Abel's pious ministry recall thee to peace and holiness.
Exit Ada with her child.
Where hast thou been?
I know not.
Nor what thou hast seen?
The dead, the immortal, the unbounded, the omnipotent, the overpowering mysteries of space, the innumerable worlds that were and are, a whirlwind of such overwhelming things, suns, moons, and earths, upon their loud-voiced spheres singing in thunder round me, as have made me unfit for mortal converse. Leave me, Abel.
Thine eyes are flashing with unnatural light, thy cheek is flushed with an unnatural hue, thy words are fraught with an unnatural sound. What may this mean?
It means, I pray thee, leave me.
Not till we have prayed and sacrificed together.
Abel, I pray thee, sacrifice alone. Jehovah loves thee well.
Both well, I hope.
But thee the better. I care not for that. Thou art fitter for his worship than I am. Revere him then, but let it be alone, at least without me.
Brother, I should ill deserve the name of our great father's son, if, as my elder, I revered thee not, and in the worship of our God called not on thee to join me, and precede me in our priesthood. 'Tis thy place.
But I have ne'er asserted it.
The more my grief. I pray thee to do so now. Thy soul seems labouring in some strong delusion. It will calm thee.
No, nothing can calm me more. Calm, say I. Never knew I what calm was in the soul, although I have seen the elements stilled. My Abel, leave me, or let me leave thee to thy pious purpose.
Neither. We must perform our task together. Spurn me not.
If it must be so, well then, what shall I do?
Choose one of those two altars.
Choose for me. They to me are so much turf and stone.
Choose thou.
I have chosen.
'Tis the highest, and suits thee as the elder. Now prepare thine offerings.
Where are thine?
Behold them here, the firstlings of the flock and fat thereof, a shepherd's humble offering.
I have no flocks. I am a tiller of the ground, and must yield what it yieldeth to my toil, its fruit.
He gathers fruits.
Behold them in their various bloom and ripeness.
They dress their altars and kindle a flame upon them.
My brother, as the elder, offer first thy prayer and thanksgiving with sacrifice.
No, I am new to this. Lead thou the way, and I will follow, as I may.
Abel, kneeling.
O God, who made us, and who breathed the breath of life within our nostrils, who hath blessed us, and spared, despite our father's sin, to make his children all lost as they might have been, had not thy justice been so tempered with the mercy which is thy delight, as to accord a pardon like a paradise, compared with our great crimes, sole Lord of light, of good and glory and eternity, without whom all were evil, and with whom nothing can err except to some good end of thine omnipotent benevolence, inscrutable but still to be fulfilled, accept from out thy humble first of shepherds, first of the firstborn flocks an offering, in itself nothing, as what offering can be aught unto thee, but yet accept it for the thanksgiving of him who spreads it in the face of thy high heaven, bowing his own even to the dust of which he is, in honour of thee and of thy name for evermore.
Cain, standing erect during this speech.
Spirit, whate'er or whosoe'er thou art, omnipotent it may be, and if good shown in the exemption of thy deeds from evil, Jehovah upon earth, and God in heaven, and it may be with other names, because thine attributes seem many, as thy works. If thou must be propitiated with prayers, take them. If thou must be induced with altars, and softened with a sacrifice, receive them. Two beings here erect them unto thee. If thou lovest blood, the shepherd's shrine, which smokes on my right hand, hath shed it for thy service in the first of his flock, whose limbs now reek in sanguinary incense to thy skies. Or if the sweet and blooming fruits of earth, and milder seasons, which the unstained turf I spread them on now offers in the face of the broad sun which ripened them, may seem good to thee, inasmuch as they have not suffered in limb or life, and rather form a sample of thy works than supplication to look on ours. If a shrine without victim and altar without gore may win thy favour, look on it. And for him who dresseth it, he is such as thou madest him, and seeks nothing which must be won by kneeling. If he's evil, strike him. Thou art omnipotent and mayst. For what can he oppose? If he be good, strike him, or spare him, as thou wilt, since all rests upon thee, and good and evil seem to have no power themselves save in thy will. And whether that be good or ill, I know not, not being omnipotent, nor fit to judge omnipotence, but merely to endure its mandate, which thus far I have endured.
The fire upon the altar of Abel kindles into a column of the brightest flame and ascends to heaven, while the whirlwind throws down the altar of Cain and scatters the fruits abroad upon the earth. Abel, kneeling.
O brother, pray! Jehovah's wroth with thee.
Why so?
Thy fruits are scattered on the earth.
From earth they came, to earth let them return. Their seed will bear fresh fruit there ere the summer. Thy burnt flesh offering prospers better. See how heaven licks up the flames when thick with blood.
Think not upon my offering's acceptance, but make another of thine own, before it is too late.
I will build no more altars, nor suffer any—
Abel, rising.
Cain, what meanest thou?
To cast down yon vile flatterer of the clouds, the smoky harbinger of thy dull prayers. Thine altar with its blood of lambs and kids which fed on milk, to be destroyed in blood.
Abel, opposing him.
Thou shalt not. Add not impious works to impious words. Let that altar stand. 'Tis hallowed now by the immortal pleasure of Jehovah in his acceptance of the victims.
His pleasure! What was his high pleasure in the fumes of scorching flesh and smoking blood, to the pain of the bleating mothers which still yearn for their dead offspring, or the pangs of the sad ignorant victims underneath thy pious knife? Give way, this bloody record shall not stand in the sun to shame creation.
Brother, give back. Thou shalt not touch my altar with violence. If that thou wilt adopt it, try another sacrifice, 'tis thine.
Another sacrifice? Give way, or else that sacrifice may be—
What meanest thou?
Give way. Thy God loves blood, then look to it. Give way, ere he hath more.
In his great name I stand between thee and the shrine which hath had his acceptance.
If thou lov'st thyself, stand back till I have strewed this turf along its native soil. Else—
Abel, opposing him.
I love God far more than life.
Cain, striking him with a brand on the temples, which he snatches from the altar.
Then take thy life unto thy God, since he loves lives.
Abel falls.
Oh, what hast thou done, my brother?
Brother!
O God, receive thy servant, and forgive his slayer, for he knew not what he did. Cain, give me thy hand, and tell poor Zillah.
Cain, after a moment's stupefaction.
My hand? 'Tis all red, and with— what?
A long pause, looking slowly round.
Where am I? Alone? Where's Abel? Where Cain? Can it be that I am he? My brother, awake! Why liest thou so long on the green earth? 'Tis not the hour of slumber. Why so pale? What hast thou? Thou wert full of life this morn. Abel, I pray thee, mock me not. I smote too fiercely, but not fatally. Oh, why wouldst thou oppose me? This is mockery, and only done to daunt me. 'Twas a blow, and but a blow. Stir, stir, nay, only stir. Why, so, that's well. Thou breathest. Breathe upon me. O God, O God!
Abel, very faintly.
What's he who speaks of God?
Thy murderer.
Then may God forgive him. Cain, comfort poor Zillah. She has but one brother now.
Abel dies.
And I none. Who makes me brotherless? His eyes are open, then he is not dead. Death is like sleep, and sleep shuts down our lids. His lips, too, are apart. Why, then he breathes, and yet I feel it not. His heart! Let me see, doth it beat? Methinks— no, no. This is a vision, else I am become the native of another and worse world. The earth swims round me. What is this? 'Tis wet.
Puts his hand to his brow, and then looks at it.
Yet there are no dews. 'Tis blood. My blood. My brother's and my own, and shed by me. Then what have I further to do with life, since I have taken life from my own flesh? But he cannot be dead. He silenced death. No, he will wake. Then let me watch by him. Life cannot be so slight as to be quenched thus quickly. He has spoken to me since. What shall I say to him? My brother? No, he will not answer to that name, for brethren smite not each other. Yet, speak to me. Oh, for a word more of that gentle voice, that I may bear to hear my own again.
Enter Zillah.
I heard a heavy sound. What can it be? 'Tis Cain, and watching by my husband. What dost thou there, brother? Doth he sleep? O heaven, what means this paleness, and yon stream? No, no, it is not blood, for who would shed his blood? Abel, what's this? Who hath done this? He moves not, he breathes not, and his hands drop down from mine with stony lifelessness. Ah, cruel Cain! Why camest thou not in time to save him from this violence? Whatever hath assailed him, thou wert the stronger, and shouldst have stepped in between him and aggression. Father, Eve, Ada, come hither. Death is in the world.
Exit Zillah, calling on her parents, etc. Cain, solus.
And who hath brought him there? I, who abhor the name of death so deeply that the thought empoisoned all my life before I knew his aspect. I have led him here, and given my brother to his cold and still embrace. As if he would not have asserted his inexorable claim without my aid. I am awake at last. A dreary dream hath maddened me, but he shall ne'er awake.
Enter Adam, Eve, Ada, and Zillah.
A voice of woe from Zillah brings me here. What do I see? 'Tis true. My son, my son!
To Eve.
Woman, behold the serpent's work, and thine.
Oh, speak not of it now. The serpent's fangs are in my heart. My best beloved Abel. Jehovah, this is punishment beyond a mother's sin, to take him from me.
Who or what hath done this deed? Speak, Cain, since thou wert present. Was it some more hostile angel who walks not with Jehovah? Or some wild brute of the forest?
Ah, a livid light breaks through, as from a thundercloud. Yon brand, massy and bloody, snatched from off the altar, and black with smoke, and red with—
Speak, my son, speak, and assure us, wretched as we are, that we are not more miserable still.
Speak, Cain, and say it was not thou.
It was. I see it now. He hangs his guilty head, and covers his ferocious eye with hands incarnadine.
Mother, thou dost him wrong. Cain, clear thee from this horrible accusal, which grief wrings from our parent.
Hear, Jehovah, may the eternal serpent's curse be on him, for he was fitter for his seed than ours. May all his days be desolate. May—
Hold! Curse him not, mother, for he is thy son. Curse him not, mother, for he is my brother, and my betrothed.
He hath left thee no brother, Zillah no husband, me no son, for thus I curse him from my sight for evermore. All bonds I break between us, as he broke that of his nature in yon— O death, death, why dost thou not take me, who first incurred thee? Why dost thou not so now?
Eve, let not this thy natural grief lead to impiety. A heavy doom was long forespoken to us, and now that it begins, let it be borne in such a sort that may show our God that we are faithful servants to his holy will.
Eve, pointing to Cain.
His will, the will of yon incarnate spirit of death, whom I have brought upon the earth to strew it with the dead. May all the curses of life be on him, and his agonies drive him forth o'er the wilderness, like us from Eden, till his children do by him as he did by his brother. May the swords and wings of fiery cherubim pursue him by day and night. Snakes spring up in his path. Earth's fruits be ashes in his mouth. The leaves on which he lays his head to sleep be strewed with scorpions. May his dreams be of his victim, his waking a continual dread of death. May the clear rivers turn to blood as he stoops down to stain them with his raging lip. May every element shun or change to him. May he live in the pangs which others die with, and death itself wax something worse than death to him who first acquainted him with man. Hence fratricide. Henceforth that word is Cain, through all the coming myriads of mankind, who shall abhor thee, though thou wert their sire. May the grass wither from thy feet, the woods deny thee shelter, earth a home, the dust a grave, the sun his light, and heaven her God.
Exit Eve.
Cain, get thee forth. We dwell no more together. Depart, and leave the dead to me. I am henceforth alone. We never must meet more.
Oh, part not with him thus, my father. Do not add thy deep curse to Eve's upon his head.
I curse him not. His spirit be his curse. Come, Zillah.
I must watch my husband's course.
We will return again, when he is gone, who hath provided for us this dread office. Come, Zillah.
Yet one kiss on yon pale clay, and those lips once so warm. My heart, my heart!
Exeunt Adam and Zillah, weeping.
Cain, thou hast heard. We must go forth. I am ready. So shall our children be. I will bear Enoch, and you his sister. Ere the sun declines, let us depart, nor walk the wilderness under the cloud of night. Nay, speak to me, thine own.
Leave me.
Why? All have left thee.
And wherefore lingerest thou? Dost thou not fear to dwell with one who hath done this?
I fear nothing except to leave thee, much as I shrink from the deed which leaves thee brotherless. I must not speak of this. It is between thee and the great God.
A voice from within exclaims,
Cain! Cain!
Hearest thou voice?
Cain! Cain!
It soundeth like an angel's tone.
Enter the angel of the Lord.
Where is thy brother Abel?
Am I then my brother's keeper?
Cain, what hast thou done? The voice of thy slain brother's blood cries out even from the ground unto the Lord. Now art thou cursed from the earth, which opened late her mouth to drink thy brother's blood from thy rash hand. Henceforth, when thou shalt till the ground, it shall not yield thee her strength. A fugitive shalt thou be from this day, a vagabond on earth.
This punishment is more than he can bear. Behold, thou drivest him from the face of earth, and from the face of God he shall be hid. A fugitive and vagabond on earth, 'twill come to pass, that whoso findeth him shall slay him.
Would they could, but who are they shall slay me? Where are these on the lone earth as yet unpeopled?
Thou hast slain thy brother, and who shall warrant thee against thy son?
Angel of light, be merciful, nor say that this poor aching breast now nourishes a murderer in my boy, and of his father.
Then he would but be what his father is. Did not the milk of Eve give nutriment to him thou now seest so besmeared with blood? The fratricide might well engender parricides. But it shall not be so. The Lord, thy God and mine, commandeth me to set his seal on Cain, so that he may go forth in safety. Who slayeth Cain, a sevenfold vengeance shall be taken on his head. Come hither.
What wouldst thou with me?
To mark upon thy brow exemption from such deeds as thou hast done.
No, let me die.
It must not be.
The angel sets the mark on Cain's brow.
It burns my brow, but naught to that which is within it. Is there more? Let me meet it as I may.
Stern hast thou been, and stubborn from the womb, as the ground thou must henceforth till. But he thou slewest was gentle as the flocks he tended.
After the fall too soon was I begotten. Ere yet my mother's mind subsided from the serpent, and my sire still mourned for Eden. That which I am, I am. I did not seek for life, nor did I make myself. But could I with my own death redeem him from the dust? And why not so? Let him return today, and I lie ghastly. So shall be restored by God the life to him he loved, and taken from me a being I ne'er loved to bear.
Who shall heal murder? What is done is done. Go forth, fulfill thy days, and be thy deeds unlike the last.
The angel disappears.
He's gone. Let us go forth. I hear our little Enoch cry within our bower.
Oh, little knows he what he weeps for. And I who have shed blood cannot shed tears. But the 4 rivers would not cleanse my soul. Think'st thou my boy will bear to look on me?
If I thought that you would not, I would.
Cain, interrupting her.
No, no more of threats. We have had too many of them. Go to our children. I will follow thee.
I will not leave thee lonely with the dead. Let us depart together.
Oh, thou dead and everlasting witness, whose unsinking blood darkens earth and heaven. What thou now art I know not, but if thou seest what I am, I think thou wilt forgive him whom his God can ne'er forgive, nor his own soul. Farewell. I must not, dare not touch what I have made thee. I, who sprung from the same womb with thee, drained the same breast, clasped thee often to my own, in fondness brotherly and boyish. I can never meet thee more, nor even dare to do that for thee which thou shouldst have done for me. Compose thy limbs into their grave, the first grave yet dug for mortality. But who hath dug that grave? O earth, for all the fruits thou hast rendered to me, I give thee back this. Now for the wilderness.
Ada stoops down and kisses the body of Abel.
A dreary and early doom, my brother, has been thy lot. Of all who mourn for thee, I alone must not weep. My office is henceforth to dry up tears, and not to shed them. But yet of all who mourn, none mourn like me, not only for thyself, but him who slew thee. Now, Cain, I will divide thy burden with thee.
Eastward from Eden we will take our way. 'Tis the most desolate, and suits my steps.
Lead. Thou shalt be my guide, and may our God be thine. Now let us carry forth our children.
And he who lieth there was childless. I have dried the fountain of a gentle race, which might have graced his recent marriage couch, and might have tempered this stern blood of mine, uniting with our children Abel's offspring. O Abel!
Peace be with him.
But with me.
Exeunt. End of Act 3.